was born in a little town of Weaver, Iowa, in 1923. So from there, I was on a farm, and I was farm boy, like so many of you fellows, so I'm sure. And so it seems like a nice, beautiful country here for farming. And it was our area was similar to yours. And then I moved to Cahokia, Missouri, and I went to high school there in Cahokia, Missouri. That was just across the line from southeastern Iowa over to northeastern Missouri. And then my father passed away, and so my uncle, who lived in Marengo, Illinois, which is 25 miles east of Rockford, talked my mother into having us, with my brothers and sisters, move up with him and help do farming with his. He had several acres, hundreds of acres to farm. So I graduated from high school in Cahokia, Missouri, and I went up that spring to be with him, and I worked that summer on the farm. And then we got the crops all in, and then I went to work in a little factory, and I moved my mother and my two brothers and my one sister stayed in Keokuk, Iowa, and the other was with us in Marengo, so we all lived in Marengo. And I took a job in a small factory in Marengo. Gee, they paid us 32 cents an hour. That's what we got for working. And I worked in that factory till March of '43. So I could have gotten a deferment from the service, but I chose to go and join the crowd because everybody wanted to get into the service. As you know, for the reasons of Hitler and Japan, which we had to defeat. So I was drafted and went to Camp Gordon, Georgia. And the 3rd Cavalry then was reactivated. It was a horse cavalry. It was a show outfit in Washington, D.C. That's what they'd done. They had their horses. And then it became the 3rd Cavalry mechanized. And so we were immediately given armored vehicles, tanks, half-tracks, jeeps, and artillery. So then, after maneuvers in Tennessee, November of '43, December, and January of '44, we were on maneuvers in Tennessee, 90 miles around Nashville, the city of Nashville. And then after that, we went back to Fort Jackson, South Carolina, to be on the firing range for 30 days. And from there, we back to Camp Gordon, Georgia, to prepare to go overseas. And we were shipped to New York City area, a camp called Camp Shanks, New York. And from there, we left and got on a British ship that had about 5,000 troops on it. And we were in a convoy of about 110 ships. Now, the 43rd Cavalry, we have 2 squadrons in the cavalry. You may have, of course, heard about, are they aware of the, sure they are, they're aware of the 43rd. And they did not land in Liverpool, where we took us 13 days across the Atlantic. We had all these ships, and it just seemed like we could never get there, but it was 13 days, and the 43rd, I think they landed in Scotland. I didn't keep track of them. I had enough of my own problems. But we then moved to the central part of England, and not far from Southampton. So when we were ready to cross the Channel, we weren't far away, and that was where we got on our landing ship tank, put our tanks and all of our equipment on this ship, and went over to Utah Beach in France. That was August the 7th in 1944. D-Day was June 6th, as you know. So the American Army was in quite a bit in, and it was a safe area. Utah Beach was safe. There was no hostility there at all at that time. So we joined the 3rd Army, General Patton's 3rd Army, at St. Louis. and proceeded to go across France in about 39 days. We were over across France near Luxembourg, near the Siegfried Line, and near Germany in 39 days. Then we had the Battle of Metz, France, a big city in France. That was also, we started to run into some very rainy, cloudy weather that stayed that way through September, October, and most of November. We were just in mud all the time. We put extensions on our tracks, on our tanks. It was a 6-inch extension. We called them duck bills, so it would give us more support and traction. But it was so muddy, we had a problem there. Finally, we did defeat the Germans in Metz with the help of many. We were just a reconnaissance unit, but there was many infantry division and armored divisions took the city of Metz. And then we moved north towards more up close to Luxembourg. We patrolled the Moselle River area. We finally, on November 17th, I know I was the 3rd Platoon of F Company. I was in that, and we took a troop of C Troop, I think it was, and we crossed into Germany. We were the first troops of the American 3rd Army to enter Germany. And I'll never forget that. It was just the accomplishment was one more step, getting closer to Berlin. From there, that time on, we got into near the Siegfried Line, which I don't know what you probably all know what the Dragon's Teeth are. They're a bunch of piles of cement and pyramids with a big tank or a ditch in front of those, about 6 to 10 feet wide and about that deep. And so vehicles couldn't cross that. They couldn't run into the Siegfried Line if we did get across that. But they did have entrances to the villages along there. They were defended by German 88 weapons, their artillery piece and rifles. It was a wicked, terrible artillery piece, and a piece that fired such a fast muzzle velocity that that projectile would go through the front slope plate of our tank and out the back end and just go right through it with the armor-piercing shell.
Let me step back a little bit before we go forward. You had mentioned St. Lo before. Students, do you remember Mr. Judarski was in here and he talked about the sky was black with bombers coming over, and then when they bombed, he said it was like the cloud of dust and debris and so on just made it like night. Remember him a couple of days ago talking about that?
Well,
you joined up with the 3rd Army at that point?
Just beyond St. Lo, yes. Just the Battle of St. Lo was just finishing when we joined.
And that was the breakthrough point?
Yes. We went down. Oh my, we broke through there and went to a little, I think the little town that we met our first combat was Laval, L-A-V-A-L. That's an experience too, you know. We didn't know what to expect. Even though we trained and knew how to use every weapon we had, very good. And it was a hard feeling, I guess, to describe when you have to go out and start facing people that's shooting for real. They're not. We did the same thing. It was hard to go against that. That particular day, I remember there was a hedgerows there, and I've often thought the good Lord was with me. We had these hedgerows, the Germans would dig what we call foxholes, or they would dig in and they'd be dug in the base of these big hedge trees. So to advance, when we knew we were getting close in a dangerous area, that day, we simply strafed one area with to the right, and the another tank would shoot to the left, and we proceeded on down with our 5 tanks. And that was how we got into this little town of Laval. There was a big tree. I went up my gunner. He was firing his 30 caliber machine gun. He told me on the radio, we had radio communication. He told me that the gun had jammed, so I simply, I got pulled down my seat and lowered myself back in the turret. I did not have the tank button up. I just had my head sticking out. As I was getting back down, the periscope on the inside that I was could look through, hit me in the face, and I thought, how did this happen? Maybe we hit a ditch and the periscope hit me in the face. So the ruptured cartridge I pulled out of the machine gun, I took the cover latch of it and opened it up, and took that out, got it ready to go again, and then I looked at my periscope before I brought my head to raise my seat. I want to make sure that I wanted to see what was around me by using my periscope. But it was shattered, the head had been shattered. And what it was, there's a cover, like my hands here, they simply cover the head of the periscope. There was a hole in that, and the head of the periscope was shattered. I released it and brought it back down and put a new head on it. And then when I went back up to see what really happened, there was this bullet hole right through the top of this periscope. Had I not went down, had that gunner hadn't told me that his machine gun had lodged, I wouldn't be here today. He was dead sure getting me from the back to the front. So that was my first experience. I thought, how close was that,
That was how soon after you got on the continent? How soon?
After that was probably March or August. It must have been the 9th, somewhere.
Just a few days.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Yes,
wow.
yes. And my one fellow, and I told you I lived in Marengo, Illinois. There was another fellow that I knew real well in that little town of Marengo. It was a town. Marengo's about the size of this town here, just a little smaller. And I knew this man so well, and so his father and mother took both of us to Camp Grant when we were to report to Camp Grant. And so that fellow, he was in the 43rd, in F Company of the 43rd, and he got killed the very first day.
First day on the continent?
First day of battle, he got killed. He was an assistant driver at the German 88 machine gun howitzer rifle. And he got hit. And he was killed. So, it's a very dangerous business. We were all young. I was maybe 19, 20 years old. And so I can see you fellows are just the size, just the same as what I was then. But I will say that we were in terrific physical condition because we had to do a lot of physical stuff, and we were in good condition, which I was so thankful for. So then as the winter come on, and this rain come on, it was heavy. We had rain. Hardly ever saw the sun. And then come the bulge started December 6th. The bulge started on the 16th of December, and at that time we were, like I say, into the Siegfried line, right at it, and right near the borders of Luxembourg, in the country of Luxembourg. Then the weather started turning cold. It got down below zero for many a day with the snow. So we went through a terrible, cold, rainy, cold winter. probably it was one of the worst winters on record over there at that time. And I don't know if they've had any worse conditions since then, but that was known to be one of the worst winters that they'd ever had. So, now, I guess that's from there on. Shall I continue on to?
Well, I don't know if what your recollection of the area is, but I have a transparency map here. I don't know if this is going to interfere with the sound or not. Of this area and the Rhine and the Moselle and the Saar.
Yes.
For about 5 months, you were in this area,
Yes,
isn't it?
I didn't know, that's right.
Well, I still, after all this contact that I've had with the 3rd Cav, I'm really not sure exactly what was all going on during that, from September until like March, you
Well,
remember there.
like I say, we were, let's see, the Moselle,
And the Saar is the short, the small river. There's the Saar, I believe.
yeah, that's the Saar going here, yeah, down to Saarbrücken. Metz is right down, right in here,
Yeah.
the city of Metz. How much time did you spend there? Oh, yes, well, we got here about the 5th of September. And this Siegfried line and the Maginot line. The French had the Maginot line. And they had one big fort. It was called Fort Driange. Now the Germans had that. They had taken, they driven them, of course, they had got the French out of there. And so they took over. And they were defending the city of Metz with that. We were down in these woods all the way along here, trying to circle and help and get into Metz. Because we were doing reconnaissance work, we were just ahead of armor and infantry and trying to find holes here and there, and that was our job. It was such a wooded area, but after we captured, Metz was captured, we then were along the Moselle River trying to find out what was where our opposition was then across the Moselle that was into Germany. So what we done, we had patrols, day patrols and night patrols. Seems as though I went on many a night patrol, about 29 of them at night, trying to capture a German or Germans, or to bring them in so we could find out where the resistance really was, where their strong parts or the points were at. That was our chore. That and we'd throw artillery over into wherever we could spot, and we figured there were Germans. Patrol work, we were patrolling day and night, working along the Siegfried line, trying to get into Germany. As I say, on November 17th, we did cross the Moselle and got into little towns and got into Germany. So that's what we done, and then we went into the Siegfried line.
Was the Siegfried line right along the German border, or was it?
Yeah, it was in, well, yes, it was, not far in, from the Moselle River. It probably was 5 miles in. And it never run a straight line, it was zigzag along the border. So we, again, like I said, it was raining constantly and muddy. So we had this little town of Tettingen. It was called Tettingen. That's what I pronounced it. Germans, I'm sure, pronounced it different, but that's what it looked like that to me. And the rest of us, there was an entrance to this town, but they had 2 guns concealed there, and we knew that from night patrols. I went on a patrol. I went on a patrol with 14 men. At that time, I was a staff sergeant. I became the platoon sergeant. And I went up on a daylight patrol and discovered we were looking to find out where we could maybe bypass and not go through this the two roads going there, this one road going into the town with the two guns guarding it. So then we came up upon the Siegfried line with this tank ditch, and then on top of that they had mines. They were mines that they were called bouncing betties. They would come up if you stepped on them and explode about 3 feet off the ground. Shrapnel, and it was a way to kill infantrymen or kill us, dismounted patrol. That was another weapon that they had.
So the pressure on it would force it to spring in the air.
Yeah.
It would not explode right away until it got into the air.
It'd come up out of the ground and then explode. Something detonated to push it up, and then bouncing betties. But anyway, I remember on that particular patrol, I'll just tell you about it, that we got up to this tank ditch. It was kind of a little incline, and then the ditch dropped down. So we were lying there with our helmets. We didn't want to stick our heads up. We always tried to put your head around behind a log or something, because if you stuck your head up, it was just obvious there you were. You pointed, you're wide open. So we always tried to conceal yourself as much as possible. And I had a fellow was beside me. I heard this terrible crack. I said, "What are you shooting at?" I thought he fired at something. And I said, "What are you shooting at?" He said, "I didn't shoot at nothing." And what it was a rifle bullet that would blast. So, immediately they soon started opening up with their machine gun fire. So we just snuck back down, got back, and went down into the woods as quick as we could and got behind anything that was like a tree for protection. In the meantime, we didn't run back, we crawled back because the inside. So we got behind all these trees and this and that, and so nobody got hurt. But I do remember a little fellow from Tennessee. He was the greatest guide. I can remember him yet today. He says, "I thought it was a beaver chopping down this tree that he was behind. The bark was just flying, and the machine gun bullets was knocking off all the bark off of the tree. And it was just over his head, and chips were flying all around." Then they started throwing, in that particular day, they started throwing mortars at us. But we got up and running. Finally got back to about a mile and a half away to our CP, our command post. And so we did find out where there was, that was impossible to cross there, or to go in with any kind of force. 10th Armored Division, the next couple of days, came up to this little town of Walker. This was the name of the little village, Wochetern. That's where we were. We were in that town there. And Tettingen was, like I say, a mile and a half down the road, or 2 miles down. We tuned into the radio channel. Our Captain Brennan told him about what was there, and this colonel, and I can hear him yet talking to our captain, saying he was going to take that town, and he's going to not take those pillboxes. But when he got up over, it was an open field. There was a road down here, and it was an open field. He simply went up with about 14 tanks, big Sherman tanks, our best tank at the time. He did have a powerful gun on him, but they got within 100 yards, or 200 yards, no more than 200 yards away, and these two guns opened up, and they knocked out 10 of those tanks just within seconds. They just as fast as they could fire. And I can still hear, at the time, because I had read radio, we were listening to this, what was happening, and I could hear men hollering at what had happened, how they had to use tourniquets. Just the legs they were just men killed. A terrible thing. Yet I often wondered Well, we knew the 10th Armored Division was General Patton brought them off of the line when he heard about that, and they were off of the line until the Battle of the Bulge. They then resumed, and he took them to up north to Bastogne. Well, that's just one incident that we went through.
Well, you were still there. The Battle of the Bulge, we spent some time dealing with that. They read all of the emails last December, finished off in January, but you were still in the same area, short of the Rhine, until the middle of March.
That's right. When we had a battle, we had to take the city of Trier, Germany, had to be taken. I don't know.
A number of them have read about that. A number of the guys have mentioned Trier.
We were given the reconnaissance mission, and we worked with, I guess maybe you all know, we had an A troop, a B troop, and a C troop. And E troop was our assault guns. They had the howitzers on a tank chassis, and then we had the F company, the tank company. And I know we were working that particular day with B troop, which had, of course, they had point Bantams, what were point Jeeps. We call them the Bantams, is what they were known as then. The Jeeps, a couple of those, and maybe 3 of them, and half tracks. And they done scouting work for us, and they would go ahead of us. The tanks were right behind them, and we were in radio contact with them. We got into a little town near Trier. We got shelled. It was just a terrible day, but we finally, it was getting dark and pitch dark, and I know I took my tank in behind a big house. And that house, we'd been shelled that whole afternoon. And I remember I wanted to get into this house because I pulled in behind it and we thought we were safe from German artillery fire, machine gun fire. And so I remember getting out of the tank, running up to the house, the big hole, and pitch dark, but I wanted to find a place just to get out of that tank and not be in there. We wanted to be in this home for the night. I remember running across, and I fell across a bed, and there was this civilian lying dead in this bed because he had gotten shelled. The windows in the house home had been hit with an artillery shell. This man was lying dead in that bed. And I can remember that. That's another experience of what I had to do and what we done. One of the things that I can always remember. The next day following that, we were on this hill. We would take this hill and go over in an open area and cross. We knew that we had to get across this open field area and get into this next woods that we had to meet to get towards the Rhine River. The Germans supposedly were on the run. Our Air Force had told us that their reconnaissance showed nothing in this area at all. So they took B troop and they put them on our tanks, to ride on our tanks. And we had 17 tanks in our company. We had 15 of them going on an oblique movement across that, in other words, on a line, a crooked line like this. In other words, head tanks move over 5 this way, 5 and 5. And I happened to be in the 3rd platoon back here. And the point platoon, the 1st platoon, were up here to the left. They got right up on top, near the woods, ready to enter the woods. And the Germans opened up with 2 more ground mount guns, the 88s, and they knocked out those whole 5 tanks, just like that. Captain Brennan was with us for the rest of us to get back. So I know we just simply made a quick turn and got back behind the hill, that big hill again, and we were safe. So that was probably the worst defeat we ever had with our over tanks. We had tanks knocked out individually. We never had 5 of them knocked out all at once, and all those men lying there dead, wounded. as long as we're talking about it with their legs blown off, their bodies torn apart. And I must tell you, the other day I got a fellow that I knew so well. His name was Brunier. His wife called me, and they lived up in northern Michigan, and they lived in Michigan now. And she told me that he never ever. Well, first I had not seen him, and all of our reunions that we had, he had not attended any of them. But he did send me his picture of his home up in northern Michigan. And she wrote and told me that she would like to have the story of that battle. That was printed in one of our reunion papers that we have. He was a gunner in that tank, an assistant gunner. And the tank got hit. The assistant gunner, his body, everything through it, just blew it apart. He got hit. And all of his body went all over this poor man. That's gunner, of course. He remembered that, and it's worked on him. And his wife said, and his daughter, that he never would speak of nothing. And finally, it's got him that he's became a nervous breakdown now, and all he can think of is that his best friend just nothing, just blowing the bits all over him. So that's a gruesome, very gruesome story. But my best friend, one of mine, 3 or 4 that I was real close to got killed there. Another man is, another dear friend is still alive, and he had his right arm, all of the muscle torn out of his right arm, and his calf of his left leg was gone. He laid out there for 2 days until we got him back, and he was, of course, he stayed alive. And then this, yes, I was going to come to that. Now, one of the members of this 5 tanks that was in there, he helped as much as he could. He wasn't harmed. He was wounded. I guess he was wounded in his thigh. But he was able to give some first aid and give the sulfa drugs is what we had. It was a little packet that we carried on our field belt to pour into wounds. And tourniquets for stopping bleeding. He helped do that, and then the Germans come then and captured them. They took them prisoner. So the Germans really didn't have nothing but horse-drawn artillery, and there was no vehicles or nothing. They had all left. But these people with the horse-drawn wagons and whatnot were there, and so he was captured. And with some couple of more of our men. So they were put in groups and marched down a road, and they were done after a couple of days, going towards the Rhine. They were all retreating, trying to get back across the Rhine. This gentleman's name, my friend Wysocki was his name. He was Polish, and he could speak Polish, and there was German there that understood Polish, and so he talked them into surrendering. And about 4 days later after the battle, he brought in 16 of those Germans back to our lines, and they surrendered him. He's still alive today. Mr. Wysocki lives in Florida. Well, that's another one of my stories.
After hearing these stories, I just kind of shudder at some of the things that you saw. Is it, does one become numb to suffering and death and pain after a while?
Well, you know, it's terrible. I guess maybe you get numb to it. You just know that this is part of your life. It's just changed. This is what you are. You're a fighting machine. You're in. It's a tough world, and it's just. That's the only way I looked at it. do what you could do.
As the days go by, do you become more fearful or less fearful? Do you think, hey, we're one day closer
Oh,
to the
you know,
war?
the very first day when I looked at this bullet hole through the cover of that my periscope, I thought, my, we got to go to Berlin. We're just getting started. You know, that was my feeling. What's going to happen? You know, and so, yes, every day, they got to everything you had to do was called a mission. Today, within a half an hour, you're going to leave and go on a mission. And your platoon leader would tell you by a map. We'd look at a map. This is what we're going to do. And that was another mission. And it seems to me like the patrols that we go on, daylight patrols, night patrols. There was always a mission, a mission. So I got tired of hearing that word of mission.
Now, on the other hand, there were good times too. I read in so many of the emails.
Yes.
Can you tell what some of the
Yes.
lighter moments were, or some of the
Sure.
happier times?
Oh yes, we had fun with one another. After we crossed the Rhine River, we got into the city of near Fulda, way up. We were getting up towards Berlin. We went north and west. We were going to be on the road to Berlin. We got near the city of Fulda. We drove through their line. And that day we made cross country wherever we could go. We just flew. We went, I don't know, some 40 or 50 miles. And it got to be dark, and here we were in this village. This is where we're going to go for the day. That's far enough. And so we all dismounted off our tanks, and of course you got everything you had. Your Tommy gun, or what was a grease gun, it was built like a submachine gun. We had that. You had your pistols, we all carried German Lugers. We had German Lugers. Your shoulder holster, and a lot of us had 45 automatic pistols. We take our bedroll and we went into this home, big place, and so of course you had to search it out. And I went up the stairs. I can remember going up the stairs real fast, opened up the closet door, and there is one of our guys. And I this is a German, now he's ready to shoot. And he called my name, of course, but I felt I was walking that far away from a German who was going to kill me, or I was going to kill him. And it was not pitch dark, it was dark. It was dark in the house. So that's one of the things. And this Kodak was his name. I said, George, I could have shot you. You're just a lucky man. You're just lucky to be alive because I had my gun. When you do think, of course, that's...
He was hiding. He was hiding there, or?
Oh yeah, he done it on purpose. He done it on purpose. So it was the most foolishest thing the guy could have done, because he could have shot him, but he immediately knew that he must have known that I was not far behind him. I didn't know he was there, in that closet. And that was one of the things. We used to be up in these. We always stayed in the house if we could. German civilians, of course, evacuated. We took over their homes. And wherever we could have a light, we'd play cards. And I remember that one time, I got a perfect 7-card. We were playing 7 cards in the stud in poker. And I got a royal flush, the only one I ever had in my life in 79 years. And I played a lot of poker then, didn't mount to nothing. But I had an ace, king, queen, jack, 10. And it was in spades. It was the highest poker hand you could get. You people maybe don't know about poker, but that was one of the things we did. We played with, we were given paper money. We had French. When we got to France, we were given money that didn't amount to nothing, but it was paper money. It was American money. paper. And then we used to roll the dice wherever we could, and that's how we had recreation. That's one way we got to wore off of our minds.
It makes me think of some of the letters. I read some of the letters that my cousin had sent back, and he talked about how imaginative, how ingenious the GI was in making something out of nothing, creating things. It was uncanny.
Yeah, we did. We did. And we'd quite often, if we knew we were in the town, we'd start looking for eggs or a chicken house or something to get some eggs, potatoes, so we could fry potatoes and have their onions. So we took over their kitchens and we cooked our own meals rather than this army stuff that we had all the time. We always got eggs and we asked for them. And then it got so we were going so fast, we finally, German civilians were there. We'd run into them. Some of them moved out of their homes over with the other group of families would get together. They were scared of us, of course. But we'd ask them for food, eggs. They would give. So.
Was there any outward hostility that you felt from the German civilians?
Oh yeah, yes. Two of my real close friends were killed with mortar fire. We had just had a big counterattack. The Germans had driven us out of the town. Gruesome thing. And we were kind of out of a line with our tanks, and we were on guard more or less an outpost here, there, and we knew this big home that we were in, well, it was a kind of a house with a barn combined, and a kind of a machine shed or whatever, and we could hear movement, we thought on this roof, or somewhere in the roofs. And it was in the daylight, and we wondered what that was. We were there a couple of days, and we heard this movement, and everything, as far as the Germans were concerned, we were at a standstill. And so these two fellows, whenever we would make a move of any kind, we'd hear something. And guys within the building said, "There's something in here, upstairs here," and we never discovered it. But every time we started changing men in the outposts that go out and sitting in the tank, we would hear movement, or we'd hear mortar fire soon afterwards. So we knew somebody was tipping the Germans off when we were doing that, when we were leaving the building to go to the outpost. And these two fellows got up on the turret of the tank, just ready to get in their tanks, and mortar shelled them down and killed both of them. Which we knew we were being sabotaged right there, but it was one of the bad things that happened. And they were buried over in Luxembourg in the Home Cemetery, and I saw their graves. I was back there in 1990 and 1995. This big American cemetery. And a lot of the 3rd Cavalry men are there. And quite a few out of F Company are lying there. So I did see their graves in Luxembourg, and I took pictures of them.
Like I told the students that I saw the grave of my cousin, not in Luxembourg, but in France, and all of a sudden it slips my mind. Just inside the French border, what's the big cemetery there? Avold, Saint Avold.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's there. And I saw that in 96, I was there.
96.
Yeah. Now, what we have to, before this period is slipping away, we have to talk about Ebensee.
Oh, yeah.
Some.
I got some pictures of that, and so I might as well give them and pass them around as I'm talking. They can be looking.
Okay. And Ebensee on the map. What we have located, I've got a big map of France, or of Germany, and we did locate it on the big map, but can you tell us approximately where it's going to be?
Ebensee is in here, down in here in Austria.
Okay.
Down to here. See, we went across, we went up and then we started going across Castle, Cologne, Franklin, up through here, and then we turned down and come down to Regensburg and over even to near the Czechoslovakian border. And, could be. Yeah, Ebensee's probably in there. Munich is not far from there. I do have pictures of. Let me tell you first, in 1990, there was 92 of us, men and wives, went back to Europe to retrace our steps across. And we wound up at Ebensee concentration camp. And I'll just give them to you, or I'll sort of do this.
Maybe
I'll
start.
just let you pass them back, because you look at them. And, well, after we got down to central Germany, then we proceeded to be on the right flank of the Third Army. That's what the 3rd Cavalry was doing. And the 80th Infantry Division was behind us, 40 miles behind. We just about that all the time. We were that far ahead of them. But we were doing reconnaissance for the 3rd Army and the 80th Infantry Division. And we run into this little town of Ebensee, Austria, on a beautiful lake. Just a beautiful place. And Austria, the Alp Mountains are pretty. And, it was in northern Austria. A troop discovered this concentration camp. We went into this town of Ebensee. Gemunden was the first town, and then we went along this big lake and run in and took this. We just followed A troop into the town of Ebensee. And so they reconnoitered the area, and they saw this concentration camp. They heard about it, and so that was about 11 o'clock in the morning, I'd say. And my platoon leader told me to get ready to take my tank and another tank to the gates of that camp. So he sent me out on the west edge of the town, and we sat there until I got his orders for us to go. In the meantime, the prisoners were escaping out of that concentration camp. But we went up, and as we got close to it, you can imagine going into really a mountainous area with these big tall pine trees, and this camp sitting back. You could see it. It just, well, what am I getting into? And here were those, as we got closer, those folks in the uniforms as rags, the striped garments that they had on, or no garments, with just nothing on, skin and bones, and it stared at you with the hollowed eyes. Just like you were looking at a bunch of ghosts or something. It didn't look like human beings there. But they were, that camp had 14 to 16,000 in there. Now, we stopped, and we pulled up to the gates, stopped. The Germans, Volkssturm, men as old as I am now, were the civilian guards, that they were given rifles and bazookas. But they were there, and I'll never know why they were there, because the German SS, this was on a Sunday, the German SS had left on a Saturday at noon before. And those few old fellows standing by that gate, acting as guards, I simply took the rifle. I reached out and I got the rifle out of his hand. And I just broke it over the turret of my tank, the gun barrel. And of course, the tremendous roar, of course it was just a roar. These people were just, you can't imagine the pandemonium that broke loose. So we drove into the area, and I I didn't want anything to do with those people. I just, they were so filthy, and we were in so much mud, and dead bodies laying everywhere, scattered around. And there's one water tank there for the, using for water, dead bodies laying into that. Evidently the people tried to get drinks of water and fell over dead. We want to remember they're just skin and bones, and they only weighed maybe 65 pounds. Growing people. So, I must tell you about, and I wanted to show you, I have his picture. I wonder if I can show you Max Garcia. Now that's a Jew that I heard a man, we stopped and I got up in my tour and I lit a cigarette. The government gave us cigarettes, but I had a package of Lucky Strikes. And this one man said, it's been a long time since I've had a Lucky Strike. Out of all that noise, he was right by the tank. So I did tell him, I said, come on up and I'll give you one. And so he did come up on my tank, and I took the cigarette that I was smoking and I lit from that and gave it to him, passed it to him, and he just about passed out after 2 big puffs. He almost collapsed. But he could speak English real well. I radioed Captain Brendan, told him I had a man that could speak English, and he told me, he says, hang on to him, we'll be up there to get him so we can have him as an interpreter and tell us all about this. We needed somebody because there's all kinds of languages, Jewish and Russian and French, everything there. There was about 6,000 Jews in the camp, 5,000 estimated Russians, and the rest were Italian, and just political prisoners, even Germans themselves. So Max Garcia told me to come down and wanted us to dismount and follow him around the camp, which we did. But of course, I'll never forget that walk through that mud, stepping on remains of human beings. The stench was so bad you could not, I could still almost smell it today. I know I would get back to go back to the tanks, and I got up on the side of the tank, and I left them on the sponson near the tour, because I didn't want to take them dirty, filthy shoes. I couldn't stand it, put them in the tank, and we all did that. I know when we got back to this, we took over this little hotel in this beautiful little town of Evansville, a beautiful hotel there. And we took that over, and we burnt their boots. We burnt the boots. We used our second pair of shoes next day. We immediately tried to get food for those prisoners. We went, everybody, our whole complete unit went everywhere and scoured for food all around that big area in the mountains, and to make a soup, which we did. And some of you may have seen the kettles for butchering hogs. I, as a farm boy, remember when we used to butcher hogs. And we had big kettles to scald them. And that's what they had. We took those kettles and made that soup and put it in the soup in those kettles. Then my job was to take my tank back up there and get close to that area where they were going to serve them, because they knew that they were just going to come by rush. And so then my tank and another tank, we fired machine gun bursts over their heads, way over their heads, but it got their attention to make them kind of get some kind of order. Now, a lot of those men gulped that soup down and they keeled right over as soon as it hit their stomach. Within moments, they collapsed. It was the first food that they'd ever had for days. The system just couldn't stand it. So many of them passed away and died right there. So that's what I saw in a concentration camp. I can show you Max Garcia. This is a man, I should tell you about him. This fellow that I took, he stayed with us for 2 weeks, and then make a quick story on this. He, in 1987, he tracked me down, and he was in San Francisco, and so he wanted to come to one of our reunions, which was in Fort Bliss, in El Paso, Texas, and that's where I met him again after all of those years. So he was the one that arranged us to go back in 1990. He wanted to lead us back, to pay us back for doing something for him, saving his life. So he felt he owed us that, so he took us all back. And he could speak 4 different languages, and so we went back in 90 and then again in 95. I could tell you so much about that man. In 90, he got up at the concentration camp called Dachau, not far from Munich. So we all stopped there, and if we could see the video, he will explain what it's like to live in a concentration camp. Because his father and mother were taken to Auschwitz along with his sister, and they were all killed there in gas. He was the only one that escaped. He escaped because he simply told the Germans that he was an architect and he could help build buildings. Because they needed him. So that's how they kept him. They didn't keep him alive. He was on a death march from Auschwitz, and when the Russians come to Auschwitz, they got on what they call a death march. They got to another concentration camp called Milk, M-E-L-K.
May I have your attention, please? Will all sophomores please report to the auditorium at this time? All sophomores, please report to the auditorium.
How much time do we got?
5 minutes.
Do you have another class?
No, 5 minutes is and then it's the end of the day for these guys.
5 minutes.
Yeah, just 5 minutes and the day's over. We're over
The
it.
day is over, yeah.
Oh, God. But I say you all have another class afterwards?
No, they're all done for the...
Oh, it's the end of the day? Well, how much more do you want to see? I'd like to show you just a few minutes of this concentration camp in this food.
Is that what the video is?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Now, while I'm setting that up, how did the whole experience, Evansy and your military experience, if at all, affect the rest of your life? Are you a different person?
Oh, no, I was lucky, I guess. I know, like this one fellow I was telling you about, it affected his life, things that happened to him. But no, I often think of it. I often think of that concentration camp.
Do you look at life differently as a result of your whole experience there?
Well, yeah, I guess I do. I just know that this is such a free country. I have so much freedom compared to what those people had. You know, we're just not, don't appreciate it. I do, because I saw what those poor people went through. So, I think I'm set there where I want to be.
I'm going to turn the camera off.
Unless you can get in on the...
I don't think you can do like TV.
Bobby, what?
I don't think you can do it like record TV. Huh?
I hope this is not the
Little lights coming on. We'll try.
It's been very interesting.
You would form up at night or in the morning for your roll call in front of your barracks, and depending on the concentration camp you were in, you would be marched either to the roll call square, or they would take the roll call right in between the barracks. Most of the time at night, when you came in from work duty, you would be formed up in here, and then you would be counted off, and the mouth was always counted by 5. You always had to stand in rows of 5 deep, because that's the easy way for them to count 5, 10, 15 down the line. Also, your work details were assigned up here in the morning. When you worked on a certain detail and you were either in the camp or outside the camp, you formed up here and then you were marched out through the gate with the SS and the dogs to your work detail. You usually get up at 4:30 in the morning. You got some, what they call coffee, which was really in hot water that had the looks of coffee and had some saccharin added to it. And you got a bowl of that. You had to make your bunk, which was a straw bunk. And the only clothing that you had was what you wore. You had no closets to store anything in. You had on your belt a a bowl in which you got your noontime soup, and in which you got your coffee in the morning and your tea at night. And that you used to wash it and to wash your clothes in. This was your all-purpose bowl, and you were issued one spoon. And the spoon usually was filed down into a knife, and sometimes you made it also into a fork. You got soup at noontime on your work detail or in with you in the camp, and that consisted about of 1/3 or 1/4 of a liter of beer. Okay, it was a small portion, which was usually cooked from thrown away potato peels or rotten cabbage and things like that. There was no meat in there at all. And that was your noontime meal. You had a half an hour for time off. At night, when you came back in after your work detail, and after you had been counted off and you went to your barracks, you were issued a slice of bread that was about that thick, that squared, and you got a portion of margarine, and on Sundays you got either a slice of cheese, a thin slice of cheese, or a thin slice of salami. And that is what you lived on all day long, and what you worked on. Some tea and some coffee in the morning, some soup in the noon, and at night, a piece of bread, and another bowl of what they call tea. That was your survival ration. You worked 6 days a week.